We're now joined here in the studio by Rupert Armitage, who is head of equities at Shore Capital. Manus is also here with us.
Francine.
Thank you so much for coming in the studio. This is a huge deal and a huge failure for Prudential and its CEO. Does it mean that the deal now has no choice but to collapse?
It would certainly appear that way. The chairman and the CEO staked their reputation and indeed their career upon this deal by backing it, and they needed 75% of the vote in the upcoming rights issue, and they were always struggling to get to that level. Some shareholders have even said that what now appears to have been the revised amount was not sufficient. So, you know, AIG have alternatives with the AIA unit that it has. Tim Geithner said that they should own them for not one day longer than possible.
But how real a possibility is it to do an IPO of this size in a markets that are so volatile? Is that realistic?
Well, they obviously believe at this stage that they're going to receive more that way than they are by selling it to the Prudential. An IPO is going to take at least 6 months in a vehicle of this size. So
a fairly risky strategy if they back out completely from this deal.
Very much so, but I think what they didn't appreciate was the fact that Prudential were trying to literally put their arm up the back and say, well, we can't get this deal done, you're going to have to take 30 or give you the option to go back to the market and see if you can do an IPO.
But this really, because of the volatility we've seen on the markets, does it mean that actually anything they try and do with AIA will be scuppered?
Well, one of the main reasons that the shareholders were dissenting was the fact that it left Prudential and the new Prudential Group as it was very exposed to any downturn in the Asia-Pacific region, particularly in China. You know, you're talking an organisation here with 320,000 agents, 23,500 employees, and part of the deal also was that there were some perpetuals in there which were pretty unmarketable as far as AIG were concerned.
Rupert, does it mean that the CEO now has to go? Is he over and finished?
Well, it certainly leaves them very vulnerable. Prudential, as we now know it, it leaves them very vulnerable to a breakup. And I think that the chairman and the CEO, having staked their reputation on it, it puts them in an almost untenable position.
I want to move the story along a little bit. European Central Bank report yesterday really raised the spectre of more write-downs to come in Central Europe. Do you think that's...
And there's the bell,
guys. There's the bell. We'll get into the numbers in a minute, but what, I essentially want to know what you think of that, which is that a big way on the market? Is it priced in?
I think there's been an expectation that the Greek situation and indeed the Spanish situation wasn't there on its own. Some people have been trying to sit quietly in the wings so that their own sovereign debt didn't come under pressure. So I don't think it's a surprise. The size of the surprise is yet to be known.
All right, let's go through those opening numbers. You have the FTSE opening.
FTSE down 0.2%, Francine, in terms of the industries. We're just getting an opening rotation here. So London down 0.25%. We have the DAX down just over 0.4% in terms of the industries. Well, it looks actually initially as if insurance... Let's actually have a look and see how the Pru is opening, because the only industry on the upside is the insurance industry. Prudential opens up 23.5 pence, 5.65. The market likes the fact that the deal is unpicking.
Concerned that they were going to overpay for it. Rupert, were you concerned that actually at that level it was too much to chew?
Well, the company themselves obviously thought that, and the shareholders were quite forthright in that fact.
So what does Prudential do now? OK, the deal falls apart in Asia. They can't go after Pru. They've staked their whole future on this gig. I mean, does this make the stock less interesting for us in terms of a growth story?
Well, as we've said, to stake the reputation, but I think now that the way forward, as far as the shareholders will be looking for a change of management, in which case the shutters have to come up and they have to try and defend their position as an independent going forward.